In an unexpected convergence of sacred tradition and modern celebrity, a moment unfolded within the Vatican walls that stunned both the faithful and the sports world. A private audience, an offering of tennis rackets, and a pun that echoed through Catholic and cultural circles alike: "We can't invite Sinner." Yes, this week, the newly elected Pope Leo XIV, the first American to ever hold the papal office, met with none other than Jannik Sinner, the current world #1 in men's tennis and Italy's most celebrated young athlete. The encounter wasn't just light-hearted, it was historic. This is not simply a viral photo op. This is a symbolic meeting at the intersection of holiness, global influence, and youth culture. But why did this moment captivate so many? Why are Catholics, sports fans, and cultural commentators all paying attention? And what does this meeting really tell us about the papacy of Leo XIV, just weeks into his pontificate? In this episode, we dive deep into the story behind the headlines. We'll explore who Jannik Sinner really is and what he represents on the global stage. Why this meeting matters for Catholic symbolism, papal tradition, and cultural diplomacy. And what it reveals about the new Pope's personality, priorities, and papal politics. Let's begin with the young man who stepped onto Vatican ground, not with a mission of confession, but with 2 rackets and a sincere smile. To understand the magnitude of this meeting, we must first understand who Jannik Sinner is, and why his presence in the Vatican is more than just a celebrity visit. Born in San Candido, Italy, in 2001, Sinner is not your typical tennis prodigy. Raised in a small town in the Dolomites near the Austrian border, he was a multisport athlete from the start, initially pursuing alpine skiing at a competitive level before turning full-time to tennis in his early teens. That shift would change his life, and eventually elevate him to the very top of the sport. At just 23 years old, Jannik Sinner is now the world #1 in men's singles tennis, according to the ATP rankings. His rise has been swift and almost surgical. Known for his clinical power, quiet discipline, and razor-sharp composure on the court, Sinner has become a symbol of a new era in professional tennis, an era no longer ruled solely by the likes of Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. But what sets Sinner apart is more than his backhand or serve. He is deeply admired for his humility, grace under pressure, and unwavering focus, qualities that resonate not just with fans, but with values the Church itself upholds. He rarely engages in controversy and carries himself with dignity even in defeat. These characteristics have made him a national hero in Italy and an aspirational figure for young Catholics, whether they follow tennis or not. Yet, his journey hasn't been without challenge. This audience with the Pope comes just weeks after Sinner's return from a 3-month suspension, the result of an accidental doping violation that shocked the tennis world. Though he was quickly cleared of intentional wrongdoing, the experience tested his resilience and perhaps deepened his personal reflection. Meeting the Pope, then, may not have been just a publicity moment. It may have been a spiritual one. So why did Pope Leo XIV agree to meet this young athlete so soon into his pontificate? And why did he use the moment to offer not only warmth, but humor, fraternity, and symbolic openness? That's where the story becomes even more compelling and even more revealing. Stay with us, because in the next section, we explore the deeper meaning behind this meeting, the papal quip that has gone viral worldwide, and what it all tells us about the Vatican's evolving role in today's global culture. 1. A holy serve, when faith met forehand. When faith and forehand met in the Vatican this week, history took a light-hearted turn. The sacred halls of the Apostolic Palace, often filled with solemn liturgy, global diplomacy, and the weight of centuries-old tradition, resounded instead with laughter, humility, and something utterly unexpected: tennis talk. Pope Leo XIV, barely weeks into his papacy, offered more than a formal audience when he greeted Jannik Sinner, Italy's young tennis champion and the current world #1. He offered a moment of genuine joy. Dressed in his traditional white cassock, the Pope welcomed Sinner with warmth and wit, turning a diplomatic meet and greet into something personal, playful, and symbolic. Sinner, who had recently returned to competition after a doping-related suspension, one later judged to be accidental, entered the Vatican not only as an athlete, but as a young man with something to prove, perhaps even something to heal. With his family by his side and tennis rackets in hand, he approached the Vicar of Christ with reverence. But he was met not with judgment, nor stiffness, but with lightness. A smile. A joke. A bridge between youth culture and the ancient church. The Pope's quip, "We might break something here, better not," after being offered a chance to play, showed the world a pontiff who isn't afraid to laugh, even at himself. And when he joked, "We can't invite Sinner," playing on the athlete's surname, the room erupted with laughter. Yet beneath that humor lay something more serious, a signal that Pope Leo XIV understands the modern world, its language, its figures, and its need for human connection. This wasn't just a celebrity visit. It was a message that holiness and humanity can coexist. That the Church, while timeless, can still speak to today's generation, in their language, with their heroes. Pope Leo served more than charm that day. He served faith, made accessible through forehand. 2. Jokes and joy, a Pope with a punchline. At the heart of this unforgettable Vatican meeting was a rare and radiant expression of joy, and a Pope with a punchline. Pope Leo XIV, barely weeks into his historic papacy as the first American to ever lead the Catholic Church, is already showing the world that holiness doesn't mean humorlessness. With a quick wit and an infectious smile, he greeted tennis superstar Jannik Sinner not just as a pontiff, but as a warm, witty shepherd who knows the power of a good laugh. The moment Sinner presented him with tennis rackets and extended an invitation for a light rally, the Pope leaned in with mischief and wisdom. "We might break something here, better not," he joked, acknowledging both the grandeur of the room and the unlikelihood of a papal backhand. His jest wasn't just about avoiding damage to priceless Vatican artifacts, it was about showing the world that the Church can engage the present moment with lightness, humility, and approachability. But it was his follow-up pun that stole the show. Playing on the athlete's surname, the Holy Father grinned and quipped, "We can't invite Sinner." The room broke into laughter. It was the kind of joke that required no explanation, clever, timely, and gently self-aware. Sinner, caught off guard, blushed and laughed, replying, "Why do you have to put me in a difficult spot?" In that exchange, barriers dissolved. The holy became human. And the human, represented by the world's top tennis player, was drawn closer to the sacred. It was a reminder that joy is holy. That humor is not a distraction from faith, but a bridge to it. That even in the most solemn office on earth, laughter can echo. Pope Leo XIV proved that his papacy may be young, but his wisdom runs deep. He understands that in today's divided world, a little well-timed humor, spoken with love, can be more healing than a sermon. 3. The ultimate gift exchange. In the Vatican, where centuries-old frescoes look down upon solemn ceremonies and sacred rituals, an unexpected yet heartwarming gesture took center stage, a tennis player's gift to the Vicar of Christ. Jannik Sinner, Italy's top-ranked tennis phenomenon and current world #1, arrived not just to pay respects, but to present the Holy Father with something symbolic, sincere, and delightfully sporty. With reverence in his steps and warmth in his smile, Sinner handed Pope Leo XIV 2 tennis rackets, carefully chosen and offered not only as mementos but as tokens of shared passion. One was nearly identical to the racket Sinner wields in tournaments, the other, a gesture of goodwill, perhaps even an invitation. "This is the racket I play with," Sinner explained with humble pride. Only the color is a little different. The moment transcended a simple exchange of items. It became an exchange of worlds. Of youth and tradition, of sportsmanship and spirituality, of grassroots courts and the grandeur of the Vatican. And in classic Leo XIV fashion, the Pope returned the serve, not with solemnity, but with sparkle. Gazing down at his all-white papal vestments, he smiled and said, "Dressed like this, I might get to play at Wimbledon." The laughter that followed was more than amusement. It was a sign of something deeper, mutual respect, joy, and the ease with which 2 public figures, one spiritual, one athletic, could connect on common ground. In a world where leaders often seem distant and untouchable, Pope Leo XIV modeled a fresh approach, accessible, warm, unafraid to delight in the moment. The rackets were more than gifts. They were metaphors, bridges between generations, between vocations, between the physical and the spiritual. And just like in tennis, the exchange was everything. 4. Rome Masters Vibes. In the heart of Rome, where ancient ruins whisper tales of empire and eternity, a different kind of battle was unfolding, not in the Colosseum, but on the clay courts of the Foro Italico. Jannik Sinner, the pride of Italian tennis and current world number 1, had returned to the Rome Masters 1000 with a renewed purpose and a weight recently lifted from his shoulders. Just months ago, the tennis world held its breath as Sinner faced a 3-month suspension due to doping, a ruling later judged to be the result of accidental contamination. Though cleared of wrongdoing, the experience tested more than his career, it tested his spirit. Now, back in the competitive spotlight and playing in front of his home crowd, every point carried more than ambition, it carried redemption. But what no one expected was the spiritual curveball, a personal audience with the newly elected Pope Leo XIV. The timing couldn't have been more poetic. The Rome Masters is not just another tournament for Sinner, it's his homeland, his proving ground, and perhaps now, his healing ground. Meeting the Holy Father just before a quarter-final clash was more than ceremonial, it was providential. The Pope, himself a tennis enthusiast, infused the meeting with light, humor, and unexpected kinship. For Sinner, it was more than just a morale boost, it was a moment of grounding, of being seen not just as an athlete but as a young man on a journey. Their exchange transcended courts and clay, it echoed with themes of forgiveness, new beginnings, and the resilience of faith in motion. As Sinner stepped back onto the courts after his Vatican visit, he did so with more than a racket in hand. He carried with him the memory of a pope's laughter, the weight of national pride, and a sense that divine timing might just be serving from his side of the net. 5. A match made in heaven, almost. What happens when the world's top tennis player meets the world's most powerful spiritual leader? A moment that was nearly a match made in heaven, quite literally. As cameras clicked and reverent silence hovered over the room, the conversation took a light-hearted spin. With a confident grin and youthful charm, Jannik Sinner leaned toward Pope Leo XIV and asked, "Do you want to play a little bit?" The Pope smiled, eyes twinkling with amusement. The crowd held its breath, not for a blessing, but for a backhand. Then came the punchline. With a playful wave of his hand and a gleam of mischief, Pope Leo responded, "We might break something here." The room erupted into laughter. It wasn't just what he said, but how he said it. The newly elected Pope, known for his deep intellect and pastoral heart, also revealed a surprising gift for comic timing. He acknowledged the absurdity of a spontaneous tennis match in Vatican halls while still entertaining the idea, if only for a divine second. Dressed in his all-white papal vestments, the pontiff even joked earlier, "Dressed like this, I might get to play at Wimbledon." Though no actual game unfolded, what did take place was far more meaningful. The casual invitation from Sinner, and the Pope's witty refusal, created a sacred sense of ease. Two men from vastly different worlds shared a brief but brilliant communion of joy, humility, and respect. There was no scoreboard, no umpire, no center court. But there was connection. This wasn't just about a missed tennis rally, it was about a rally of spirits. A generational, cultural, and spiritual volley that reminded millions watching that holiness and humanity are not separate courts. Here stood a young man whose life had recently been shadowed by controversy, reaching toward a symbol of mercy and grace. And there stood a pope who met him not with ceremony, but with laughter and love. A match wasn't played that day, but history was. 6. Photos, trophies, and fellowship. The meeting between Pope Leo XIV and Jannik Sinner culminated in a moment of profound symbolism, captured through smiles, handshakes, and the gleam of historic trophies. Standing side by side, the Pope and the tennis star posed before two iconic symbols of Italian sporting glory, the Davis Cup and the Billie Jean King Cup. These trophies were not mere decorations, they represented the sweat, sacrifice, and triumph of generations of Italian athletes who had carried the nation's flag high on the international stage. The Davis Cup trophy, gleaming under the Vatican's gentle light, bore the weight of Italy's remarkable achievement, their second consecutive win. This victory marked a milestone in Italian tennis history, a testament to teamwork and perseverance. Jannik Sinner had been an essential part of that journey, a young star contributing his talents to a collective dream realized. Beside it, the Billie Jean King Cup stood proudly, a symbol of Italy's excellence in women's tennis, a triumph in 2024 that showcased the strength and spirit of female athletes on the world stage. As cameras clicked and the press captured the historic scene, it wasn't just about the trophies. The true highlight was the fellowship shared in that room. Pope Leo XIV, known for his deep faith and pastoral care, demonstrated a genuine passion for sport's ability to unite. He listened intently as Sinner and the Italian Tennis Federation president, Alberto Banahi, recounted stories of hard-fought matches, grueling training sessions, and the joy of victory. The atmosphere was warm, filled with laughter and mutual respect, an encounter where faith and sport intertwined seamlessly. This gathering underscored a powerful message that greatness is rarely achieved alone. It is born from community, shared dreams, and the unity that transcends individual accolades. The Pope's reception of these trophies was not merely ceremonial, it was a blessing upon the spirit of Italian tennis and its place within the cultural and spiritual fabric of the nation. In these moments, the Vatican was transformed into a chapel of athletic celebration, where trophies glistened as beacons of hope and perseverance, and where a young tennis star and a spiritual leader found common ground. It was a vivid reminder that sport, like faith, has the power to inspire, uplift, and bring people together beyond boundaries, courts, or creeds. 7. An honorary tennis fan. The encounter between Pope Leo XIV and Jannik Sinner was not only a meeting of personalities but a historic moment bridging the sacred and the sporting worlds. This was made unmistakably clear when Angelo Banahi, the president of the Italian Tennis and Padel Federation, presented the new pontiff with an honorary federation card. This symbolic gesture went far beyond a mere formality. It was a heartfelt recognition of Pope Leo XIV's genuine passion for tennis, a sport that unites millions across Italy and beyond. Banahi's words captured the spirit of the moment perfectly. We all felt the passion that Leo XIV has for our sport, and this filled us with pride. For the Italian tennis community, this was more than just a papal audience, it was a celebration of shared values and mutual respect. The Pope's enthusiasm for tennis resonated deeply, underscoring how sport can serve as a universal language, bridging age, culture, and even the divide between sacred and secular. The honorary card symbolized a new chapter in the relationship between the Vatican and the sporting world. It wasn't just about acknowledging the Pope's interest, it was about embracing a new ambassador for tennis, someone whose influence extends to billions worldwide. By welcoming Pope Leo XIV into their federation, the Italian Tennis and Padel Federation signaled the importance of faith-inspired support for athletes and the broader sporting community. In a world often divided by politics, religion, and competition, this gesture reflected a hopeful unity. The Pope's card was a reminder that behind every serve, every rally, and every match, there lies a human story, a story of dedication, resilience, and shared joy. As Banahi expressed his hope to embrace the Holy Father again soon, maybe on a tennis court, it became clear that this was no fleeting encounter. The honorary card symbolized a lasting bond, a promise that sport and faith will continue to inspire and uplift together. Pope Leo XIV, now officially an honorary tennis fan, stands as a beacon of this powerful alliance, one that could transform not only Italy's sporting future but the spirit of global fellowship. 8. A historic first serve from the Vatican. The meeting between Pope Leo XIV and Jannik Sinner was not just a warm encounter between a spiritual leader and a rising sports star, it was a historic milestone in papal history. For the first time, an elite tennis athlete was formally received by a pope known for his personal passion for the game. This unique event reflects both the evolving role of the papacy and the growing intersection of faith with contemporary culture and sports. Pope Leo XIV's ascent to the papal throne was historic in itself. As the first American to become pope, his election broke centuries-old patterns, symbolizing a new era for the Catholic Church. Yet, beyond his groundbreaking nationality, what has captivated many worldwide is his relatable and down-to-earth persona. Unlike the distant, austere image often associated with pontiffs, Leo XIV reveals himself as someone who embraces everyday joys, tennis and baseball among them, with genuine enthusiasm. His candid affection for tennis is no mere hobby, it's a bridge connecting him to millions of fans around the world, young and old. Meeting Jannik Sinner, Italy's tennis prodigy and a top-ranked player, was therefore more than ceremonial, it was a deeply personal moment that humanized the pontiff. Through this meeting, Pope Leo XIV demonstrates that faith leaders can also be cultural participants, finding common ground with people from all walks of life. The Vatican's first serve to elite tennis marks a symbolic passing of a new baton, one that marries tradition with modernity, spirituality with sport, reverence with playfulness. By inviting sports figures into the heart of the Church's seat of power, Pope Leo XIV is subtly redefining the boundaries of papal diplomacy and pastoral outreach. Moreover, his passion extends beyond tennis. He is an avid supporter of the Chicago White Sox baseball team, further illustrating his broad sporting interests and cultural engagement. This unexpected facet of his personality invites believers and non-believers alike to see the Pope as a multifaceted individual, rooted in faith but also delighting in the simple pleasures of life. In this historic moment, the Vatican opens its doors wider than ever before, welcoming the world of elite athletics into its fold. Pope Leo XIV's first serve is a signal to the global community that the Church is not removed from contemporary life but actively engaged with it, celebrating the unity and joy that sport can inspire among humanity. 9. A papal pep talk. As the meeting between Pope Leo XIV and Jannik Sinner drew toward its close, the atmosphere shifted from playful banter to a more personal and encouraging exchange. Before bidding farewell, the Pope took a genuine interest in Sinner's current journey on the tennis court. In a moment that transcended formality, Pope Leo engaged the young Italian athlete in a heartfelt conversation about his recent performances and his experience returning to competition. Sinner, still navigating the pressures of his comeback following a 3-month suspension, shared candid insights with the pontiff. At the beginning of the tournament, it was tough, he admitted. But now we're finding our rhythm. These simple words carried the weight of an athlete's resilience, battling uncertainty, overcoming setbacks, and steadily regaining confidence with each match played. What stood out most was Pope Leo XIV's attentiveness. Far from a perfunctory exchange, the Pope listened like a devoted fan, embodying a pastoral care that reached beyond spiritual guidance to embrace the struggles and triumphs of an individual in the public eye. His interest underscored a profound truth: leaders of faith, even at the highest level, recognize the universal human experience of facing challenges and striving for excellence. This moment also reflected the Pope's understanding of rhythm, not just in tennis, but as a metaphor for life. Whether in sport, faith, or daily struggles, finding one's rhythm is about patience, perseverance, and trusting the process. The Pope's supportive presence was a silent but powerful endorsement of Sinner's journey, reminding him, and all who hear this story, that setbacks are not endpoints but part of the unfolding narrative toward victory. In the quiet dignity of this papal pep talk, the meeting took on a deeper spiritual resonance. It was a reminder that encouragement and empathy, offered sincerely, can inspire renewed strength and hope. For Sinner, it was a blessing from a figure whose influence extends far beyond the Vatican walls, an encouragement to press on, with faith in both his talent and his path. As they parted ways, the sense of mutual respect and shared humanity lingered. Pope Leo XIV had not only welcomed a tennis star into the Vatican but had also reached out to a young man navigating the highs and lows of his calling. This exchange beautifully captured the timeless role of faith leaders as sources of hope, motivation, and profound connection in a complex world. 10. Proudly Italian, deeply connected. In the heart of Rome, the meeting between Jannik Sinner and Pope Leo XIV was much more than a casual encounter. It was a deeply meaningful moment layered with national pride and spiritual connection. For Sinner, an Italian tennis prodigy competing on home turf at the prestigious Rome Masters, standing before the leader of the Catholic Church was a powerful symbol of both his roots and his faith. Italy, a nation rich with tradition, culture, and Catholic heritage, saw in this meeting a beautiful fusion of its sporting excellence and religious identity. Sinner's presence at the Vatican was a living testimony to how the spheres of sport and spirituality can intertwine. It was a rare occasion where Italy's sporting ambition met its religious heart, creating a poignant reminder of the country's unique cultural tapestry. This encounter also highlighted how individuals representing Italy carry more than personal ambitions. They carry the hopes and pride of a nation deeply connected to its faith. For Sinner, the meeting was not just a photo opportunity, it was a moment of honor and inspiration that fueled his resolve as he prepared to battle on the courts of Rome. the spiritual encouragement from Pope Leo XIV added a dimension of grace and strength beyond the physical game, grounding Sinner's competitive spirit in a greater context. This remarkable meeting between Pope Leo XIV and Jannik Sinner was much more than an exchange of tennis jokes or rackets. It was a vivid illustration of how sport and spirituality can coexist and enrich one another. In a world often divided, their interaction showcased unity, laughter, and shared humanity that transcended titles and ranks. Pope Leo XIV and Jannik Sinner served up a memorable moment that blended faith, passion, and national pride, a story that will resonate far beyond the Vatican halls and tennis courts. It's a powerful reminder that beneath every public persona lies a shared human experience of hope, resilience, and connection. If you found this holy tennis tale inspiring and uplifting, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon. Stay tuned for more stories that celebrate faith, culture, and the remarkable moments that unite us all.